Looking for an affordable way to get some deeper exhaust notes and some better clearance for your 2020 or newer 3.6-liter Gladiator JT, this Flowmaster Flow FX turn-down style exhaust system will be a great option to take a look into. Getting right into sound, this will be a 3 out of 5 on the loudness meter, with 1 being completely stock and 5 being Wake the Neighbors loud. Now again, this will add some aggressive tones to the exhaust without adding too much volume, which will be perfect if you enjoy hearing the exhaust when you get on it, but will be quiet and comfortable inside the cab area with little drone. Now this will also be a great pick if you don't really care about the look of the exhaust, but rather the clearance that you're getting here with the turn down style design, which will help keep the exhaust out of the way when you're taking your JT out on the trail. This will be made of a 3-inch mandrel bent 409 stainless steel material, offering a lot of airflow compared to the smaller diameter systems and good rust resistance. The Flow FX muffler here is going to give you that aggressive but moderate tone out of the 3.6 liter while optimizing airflow way better than the factory system. This will also be a shorter system, which will eliminate the over-axle tailpipe, again giving you the clearance that you need off-road, keeping it minimal and straightforward with the JT owner looking for a no-fuss design. Not to mention, you're getting the hangers in the factory location and everything that you need to get this onto your Gladiator seamlessly. Now, compared to other systems, this will keep it on the affordable side for a couple of different reasons. Now, first off, this is going to be minimal as far as the system is concerned, reaching just to the back of the axle, and it's going to be made of that 409 stainless. While this will offer ample clearance and great rust resistance, other choices on the page may keep the high clearance design but reach over the rear axle, or they may be made of a very high quality premium 304 stainless, which will up that price point. Now, I think if you're willing to compromise for an exhaust that will provide the clearance and the sound that you need out of your JT, then this is a great pick. Install will be a lighter 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about 2 hours to get the job done with some pretty basic hand tools. At this point, we can head over to the shop and check out a detailed breakdown of the install and what that looks like. So that's going to wrap it up for me. Let's jump into it.
The tools you're going to need for this installation include a ratchet, electric or regular, an impact gun, 10, 13, 15, and 18 millimeter sockets, a flathead screwdriver, and lubrication.
What is up, everybody? Today we have an exhaust we're going to install on our Jeep Gladiator. I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. Now, we did previously get the uninstall footage, so I'm going to show you that first. Then I'll be back to walk you through the install.
Okay guys, first step obviously is we're going to have to remove our factory exhaust. Now, we have our Gladiator up on a lift to give you guys some better angles to show you exactly what we're doing underneath the Jeep. And the way we're going to do this is going to preserve our factory exhaust. If you don't care about your factory exhaust, it might be easier just to cut it off, but we're going to show you how to get this off while preserving the piping. So let's go ahead and get started. All right guys, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the skid plate here, and that's so we can drop the front end of the exhaust down. It'll make it a little bit easier to kind of work its way out. The factory exhaust is basically one piece from the Y pipe all the way back to the tailpipe. So what we're first going to do is we have a 13 mil bolt or a nut right here we're going to remove, and then we have 4 18 millimeter bolts here and then 2 up front here that we're going to remove, and that'll let us get the skid plate down. All right, like I said guys, that one we just did was a 13 millimeter, and the next 4 are all going to be 18 millimeter sockets you're going to need. All right guys, now before I do the front 2, make sure you're supporting it with your hand, because once you loosen these, the skid plate's going to want to drop on you. All right guys, now this point back is what we're going to be removing. So this clamp here we're going to loosen. You're going to need a 13 mil socket for this ball clamp. Now, unlike a regular flat clamp, these ball clamps have a kind of a curved edge that kind of cup around the end of the flange here, so you have to loosen it quite a bit in order to slide this out eventually. So we have that pretty good and loose, so we're going to move to the next step. All right guys, now we're going to pull back on this lock tab. This is just kind of to prevent the clamp from sliding at all. So just get a screwdriver in there, pull that back. All right guys, now we're right near the tailpipe, and this is the rearmost hanger. We're gonna remove this bracket because it is the one bracket that is pointing in an opposite direction from the other hangers further forward on the exhaust. We're gonna use a 13 mil socket on these two bolts as well. All right guys, now just to get it out of our way, we're gonna pull this hanger off. You're gonna have to pull it out a little bit and rotate it down. There's this little tab right here that hooks into the frame rail, so you need to get it away from there. You should be able to just pull this out like that. All right guys, now go ahead and assemble the tool that comes with your Jeep. We're going to lower our spare tire, get that out of the way, and then also remove the spare tire guard to finish getting out our exhaust pipe. Now this tool basically goes into a plastic sleeve that's behind the bumper here. Once you get that in, you can't twist it by hand, then you know you're on the, it's kind of like a bolt back in there that the end of this tool goes on, and we're gonna use this just like a socket wrench. And then the lug wrench here has a square opening in it. Put that in the end here. All right, with a bunch of slack let out, guys, you don't want to drop it all the way to the ground. You want to be able to get a hand underneath your tire. Lift your tire up. And there's a black bracket the tire rests on. Slide it up the cable and get it through the lug hole. All right guys, now to remove the heat shield that protects our spare tire, you're gonna have 5 bolts. They're all 10 millimeter. There's 3 up here that are gonna be very hard, if not impossible for you guys to see on camera here, but we're gonna take those 3 out first. All right, then we have the last 2 right here, again, 10 millimeter. All right guys, now at this step, we only have 2 hangers that are holding our exhaust pipe up, and they are both pointing towards the front, which means with the help of my friend back here, we're gonna slide the entire pipe backwards out of these 2 hangers and then drop it down and actually pull it forward to clear the rear axle.
All right, we're back under the Jeep and we're ready to start the install. And we're gonna start with our front pipe here, and we're gonna be installing this end on our Y/cat pipe here. We're using the factory bubble clamp and our 13 millimeter socket. All right, so as you can see, we're gonna install this with the kink here kind of going downways. And for the bubble clamp here, it's a little easier to slide this over if you kind of pry it open from the middle here, like so. Once you have it over both pipes, go ahead and loosely tighten that down with your 13. And just leave enough room so that we can adjust this and be able to move it if we need to. Now we're going to reinstall our factory isolator, and this is the one that goes right over the axle here. So if you follow this, your axle directly up, you'll find these two holes there. That's where this isolator goes. So let's put that back up using the factory hardware and our 13mm socket. That's always good practice to put these bolts in and all your hardware in a few threads by hand before we put a tool to it. And that'll just decrease the chance of us cross-threading anything. Right, again, I'm tightening these down with my 13mm. It's now time to start installing our muffler pipe. So this hanger right here coming off our tailpipe, we're gonna slide this into the isolator that we just installed. Once that's done, make sure you have your clamp over the inlet pipe of your muffler. Once it's hung up, we can slide this over top of our front pipe. All right, we're gonna line up the end of our hanger here with our isolator and slide that in place. And go ahead and push it all the way in, because the next step is to pull this back to put it onto our front pipe. All right, just double check, make sure that you have your clamp on here before you slide it in place. So just pull it back out of the hanger just a little bit, enough to slide this on. All right, once that's in position, we're gonna move over here to this other hanger and install our other factory isolator. All right, so here's our other factory isolator. We're gonna slide this onto the hanger and then put the factory hardware through and tighten them down with our 13mm socket. So you might have to maneuver or manipulate the exhaust a little bit just to line up the holes. And again, putting the hardware in a few threads by hand before we put a tool to it. Now we can go ahead and tighten this the rest of the way down with our 13mm. Find a good angle here. There we go. All right, lastly, we're gonna make sure that everything's lined up nicely and make sure that nothing's hitting or rattling. Once you have that sorted out, we can go ahead and tighten our clamps. The supplied clamp here is gonna take a 15mm socket, and our factory bubble clamp is gonna take the 13mm socket. All right, we're here at the supplied clamp where our front pipe and our muffler meet. So just make sure that the clamp is positioned so it's far enough over the muffler. And take your 15mm socket and tighten it down. And now we can move on to the bubble clamp. Back here at the bubble clamp, I'm just gonna loosen this up just a little bit, just to make sure it's positioned nicely over both pipes. And we can go ahead and tighten this back down using our 13mm socket. All right, our muffler is installed now. We wanna take it out and test it out. But first, we have to put up our factory equipment. So let's start here with the skid plate and the factory hardware. All right, when we're putting our skid plate back up, just line this hole up here with this stud, and that'll give us our general location. And then we can start putting in the factory hardware. So I'm gonna start with the 18mm bolts here. Can put a couple in, and then we can let this hang and get the rest of the hardware in. Now we can go ahead and tighten down our factory hardware. The big bolts here are 18mm, and then that little nut there is a 13mm. Let's reinstall our heat shield using our factory hardware and our 10mm socket. All right, we're gonna line up our heat shield here with these two studs and these two holes. And we're gonna take one of our 10mm bolts here and put them through by hand over here. Take the second one, throw this in by hand, and now there are 3 more pieces of hardware back here. Obviously the 2 studs that we mounted this on first, so we're gonna put the 2 nuts there, and then there's 1 more right back here behind here that is impossible to see on camera, but that's where the 3rd 10mm bolt will go. All right, now let's tighten everything down with our 10mm socket. Then you can get this last one from back here. And next we'll put our tire back up. Now we're gonna put our spare tire back up the way we took it down. So grab your spare tire toolkit, go ahead, put it together. Now we can route this through the hole and into the cone. Slip the other part of our tool on here, tire iron, and we can wind the cable down. And put the cable through the back side with the spring first, and then the black bracket. All right, now we can wind it back up. All right, just keep an eye on the bracket, make sure it catches where it's supposed to. And then if the tire starts teetering like so, just kind of give it a little spin as you're winding it. See what I'm saying here? Watch. There you go. All right, once it's up there tight, just give it a little cinch, no need to over tighten it. Grab all your tools and you're good to go. That's gonna wrap up this review and install of the Flowmaster Flow FX Extreme single exhaust system in the turn down style for your 20 and newer 3.6 liter Gladiator JT. Thank you for watching, and for all things Gladiator, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.